Superman is one of the most well-known fictional characters, only second to Santa Claus. Although Superman is considered to be the most popular superhero in all of comics, going way back to 1938, where his first debuted on the issue of Action Comics, who is soon to be later known as DC Comics. Now looking back into early eras of Superman and his powers, they are stupidly broken. Like, he can sneeze solar systems away, easily go beyond light speed despite not being a true speedster, and broke the bonds of infinity. And despite having multiple recons and changes, his morals and the strong belief to do good is always the right thing to do never changes. Unless, well, this is what's happening on the new Superman movie, directed by James Gunn, on what would happen when we highlight Superman's greatest superpower, a grounded overlook of the character, and why this version of Superman is the best of all of cinema. As I mentioned, that Superman is extremely powerful, and looking at that Superman as the way as it is, well, with all that strength and his powers, without kryptonite, no magic, or just plot, nothing can defeat Superman. I'm serious. If he's fighting at 100% of all time, you won't be able to catch him, nor even be able to touch him. But the intro of the movie are not the highlights of his power, but the fact on how he lost. And that sets the tone of the movie. Yes, you are seeing the movie of a hero called Superman, but the flashy and the hero-y stuff, does that make the man? Or the humbling beginning of a fallen man is what made him super? And I'll even talk about the costume later. But man, I love that Krypto is the most lovable character in the entire movie. I recently just found out that Krypto was 3D modeled after a real dog named Ozo, and you can just see how similar they are both in the movie and in real life, which is pretty adorable. And another thing is the war between Baravia and Jorhanpur. There was a time that I always thought of, what if Superman would just stop all wars? I mean, there is literally nothing stopping him from doing that. He would just break every weapon of war in the blink of an eye if he wanted to. But the movie shows that it is very complicated. Unlike the early days of Superman in the comics, punching anything can be the solution. But this time, despite Superman having all the power to do so, it isn't the solution anymore. And that's fine. I believe that this was added just because it establishes Superman's morals in the movie. And yeah, my problem with this movie is in the beginning. Like, we are thrown into a world that feels like we've missed a lot. Like, wars already happened. Superman was just recently fighting a dude, which he lost, and we never get to see because it happened all off cam. But after we go through that part of the movie, we get to see how full-packed this adventure really is. And I love it. I feel like the reason why Superman is going with these insane and random adventures with introduction to multiple characters, well, basically, I think it's a setup for the world building, and for the future DCU movie project, they will be sitting on an already established world. And I think it's really cool, especially when you introduce so many things, but they all surprisingly work so well. Except for Hawkgirl, she was just there. But other than that, I like how the characters have something to contribute to the movie. And thank you for Mr. Terrific for being this incredible. I remember watching the Arrow series. I know, shut up. The Mr. Terrific, kind of an
You really need to shut your damn mouth.
But this version is just a love letter to the character. I mean, what did I do to deserve this, bro? Oh, and I think another great character that has spawned into this movie is none other than Lex the freaking Luthor. Oh man. This character is brilliant, top notch. He really hates Superman, as it should be. And I knew it. When I saw Nicholas Hoult was gonna be Lex, I immediately thought this was gonna be good. The way he does things in the movie, he does it in a way that is methodical, that you know he's got this under control. And this would never work if the writing was bad, because there is just no way for the character to work around it, especially when a lot of things are happening on this movie. But I'm glad it did work out as planned, that we got blessed that the character is born, and we get to see him in the cinemas aura farming for an hour while being the greatest generational hater to Superman. Oh no, we will never forget our boy, our man, Superman. Let's start with a costume. I'm not gonna lie, there was this one scene in the movie where I laughed when I saw that costume, because instinctively I thought wearing your underwear outside your pants was pretty funny to me. And then I thought about it, and this version of Superman really fits this costume design, with all the saturated colors and that subtle Kryptonian outline and the iconic underwear. This made him more of a symbol of hope, and taking off that costume would only meant we are left with Clark Kent. Not many understand on how cool the Clark Kent character is. You say that 3 times fast. Clark Kent character. Clark Kent character. And because of this, it proves Superman right on the end of the movie, where his speech about humanity, because despite of Lex seeing him as an alien and the whole world treated him as an outsider, well, to be fair, the Kryptonians' intentions were evil, but he is just human like everyone else. I want to talk about All-Star Superman, which is where the movie was inspired on, specifically on issue 5, where Clark Kent came. That's such a weird thing to say. Clark Kent came. He came in as a reporter to interview about Lex Luthor. This was fantastic. Being this up close to your #1 hater, it's funny and it's cool to see. Clark Kent acts like a regular human, clumsy, uncoordinated, vulnerable, and as methodical as a guy like Lex Luthor. He doesn't seem to see through Clark as Superman. He even said that, "I've always liked you, Kent. You're humble, modest, uncoordinated, human. You're everything he is not." But the truth is, this Clark Kent wasn't a facade this whole time. This is who he is, because this was the point that Lex will never understand, that he was human this whole time. Superman might act differently than Clark, but that's the responsibility of Superman. A symbol showing that humans with superpowers like him must be a symbol of good, and that good must not be defeated by evil. And that sums up beautifully on that Superman speech in the end. And despite not knowing what to do and making a couple of mistakes here and there, we always try to do better. And this is the best version of Superman.